So a fan of ours, a fan of the show, wrote us from India, and he's asking, I've received experience of divine blissful consciousness, spiritual enlightenment of oneness, everythingness, and nothingness, and pure love vibrations. That's awesome. Still, I feel confused, I feel depressed, I feel anxious, and unsatisfied with life. Though I'm not personally egotistical or greedy, do you have any advice on identifying the root cause of my agony and misery in life? Boy, talk about starting off with a big question. Whoa, all right. So there are multiple facets to this particular question, and I've got to say that I'm sure many people who are going through the path of awakening, enlightenment, ascension, etc., those of us on the spiritual path, while we do have those aha moments, we are still in a physical body and living in a human condition. Because we've had experiences, and I think this is kind of where the key comes in, and I will share how it was for me, having those moments of literally nirvana, of complete oneness. And I've been lucky enough to have that happen to me several times, not only during a shamanic vision quest, but spontaneously or during deep meditation. And when we get to that place, it's amazing how easily the ego will trick us. The ego is quite the trickster, and it's not a bad thing. You know, it doesn't mean you're an egotistical person. We all must have an ego to deal with day-to-day life. Again, I say all the time, you know, without ego, you wouldn't be able to tie your shoes or drive yourself to work or know what time to catch the train. But it is somewhat of a jealous aspect of our whole being. And again, it is a part of our whole being. It is what makes us a whole human being and a whole human individual and identity and consciousness. But it's very jealous. It wants to have complete control over your mind all the time. And what happens when we have these experiences of nirvana and oneness, the moment the ego notices that, you'll notice, or at least I've noticed, maybe you've experienced it also, is that you don't want to let go. The ego likes it. The ego also enjoys that feeling of nirvana, of wholeness, of oneness, and it doesn't want to let go of it. It's a good example is an addict. Someone, let's say, you know, you do cocaine or some type of drug that gives you that rush, and you get that rush and you don't want to lose that rush. The same thing happens with that awakening process. When we have that sense of oneness, of nirvana, our ego wants more, and we want to relive that peace, that wholeness, that oneness. And in that, we create that inner drama, that inner conflict, and that separation, without realizing that we can choose, and let me be very clear here. We can choose to experience that all the time. But however, let's take it a step back. You are still a human being in a human body with human responsibilities, with a physical body. And so unless you are one of these people who are lucky enough or have chosen, I wouldn't even say lucky because I don't think I would choose it, to be living in a mountain, in a monastery, to be able to meditate 24 hours a day, to live in this wholeness of nirvana and oneness, you are going to have life responsibilities and human experiences. So to answer the question, and I'll read it again, to answer the question, I still feel confused, depressed, anxious, and unsatisfied with life. I'm not personally egotistical or greedy. Okay. The reason why is, yes, we've experienced the oneness, we experienced the nirvana, we experienced the awakening, and we begin to, and I've gone through it, I still go through it, we go through this resentment of still being human. And it comes from, I shouldn't say resenting human, it's more resenting the emotions that come from being human and having an ego in a human body. So this comes from not accepting Not accepting. Simple as that. When we accept that we are human beings or spiritual beings in a human body having a human experience, and we can accept the human experience, accept the fact that if we are living in today's society, in today's world, and we're not one of these wonderful monks that are living in a mountain, if we can accept the fact that there is going to be loss, there's going to be anger, there's going to be happiness, there's going to be joy, there's going to be polarity, there's going to be contrast, there is going to be separation from the one, the whole, at times. But we can easily bring our consciousness back to that oneness at any given point through practice, through meditation, and with experience. So again, to answer the question, for me, it's not accepting the human condition. Many of us on this path struggle with the idea that we're human. Oh my God, I got angry. Oh my God, I got sad. Oh, I'm afraid to get hurt again. Oh, I've gotten hurt. I fell in love. I got screwed over by my boss. Whatever it might be, these are part of life. And I'm not saying we don't have control over it, but these are things and emotions that come from being a spirit having a human experience. So identifying that someone is anxious, identifying that you're depressed, or identifying that you're still somewhat unsatisfied, is literally a good thing. You can identify that you're depressed. You can identify that you're anxious. What is the root cause? That you want it to be different. I can go on for a whole hour about this question, and I better kind of round it up right now because we have so much more. But the reality of it is that sometimes that anger is there for a reason. We must move through it, not hold on to it, not live in it, but move through it and see where it's guiding you. Use that, and I always say that our emotional body and our emotional experiences, for most of us who are fairly mentally stable, and that's a big, again, a whole nother show on what's mentally stable, but if we're not being reactive, in other words, if we're not being reactive and we can pay attention to our emotional body and what it's telling us, it's usually pushing us in a particular direction. So if we are unsatisfied, if we are depressed, if we are anxious, ask the anxiety, ask the depression, ask the unsatisfyingness. What is it? Why am I feeling this? And we will come to a greater sense of understanding and acceptance. And again, the answer here and the key here is acceptance of the human condition. Doesn't mean we have to accept being angry or unhappy all the time. We just need to accept that it's going to rain sometimes, it's going to snow sometimes, it's going to be dry sometimes, we're going to be hungry sometimes, we're going to be full sometimes. It's the only constant is change.